I'm about to show you 7 categories of items that most resellers ignore, which is why you can make serious money selling them. So while everyone else is fighting over used electronics and trendy clothes with razor-thin margins, I've been quietly selling vintage for almost 18 years, selling over 26,000 items. And here's the thing, these are not rare antiques that you need a degree to identify. These are normal things hiding in plain sight that you just need to look for. You'll be able to find these things at almost every estate sale and thrift store. So if you appreciate me sharing this information, please hit the subscribe button, and now let's get into it. So as we talked about last week, 2026 is the perfect year to get started with reselling, especially with vintage items. And not only are people looking to sell, but the collectors are out there looking to buy. So with the economy being gloomy and people being a little worried about cash flow, they are ready to sell a lot of things that they have around the house, and they're like, if we can get some extra cash, let's go ahead and have a garage sale. I guess the way that I've always looked at it, as we are recycling things and helping the people who need to sell or want to sell so they can have the money instead of having just junk sitting around. And then we're also helping the people who are looking for it. So it's a win-win situation. You make money in between for yourself, and you're able to fund your own projects. Hi, I'm Jennifer, and this is her Empowered Retirement. Here's what most new resellers get wrong. They chase the shiny stuff, the used electronics, the trendy clothes, and these things are good. It's just that you need to be careful that you don't get into an area where there's too much competition, because that will not only raise the price because sellers are aware of those same items being popular. The purchase price is high. The selling price may or may not be high depending on the competition that you run into. Vintage is the opposite game entirely. Most people walk right past this stuff because they don't see the value. And that is actually our secret weapon. I'm not talking about becoming an antiques expert here. I'm talking about recognizing opportunity, be on the lookout, and see treasures where other people see junk. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So first up, and this one surprises a lot of people, although I did briefly mention it on last week's video, is paper. And paper is a huge category with lots of different collectors. It can include photos, calendars, menus, tickets, like ball game tickets, that type of thing. Postcards. Postcards are huge. One of the things that makes these things so rare is because so many people just throw it away. They don't even investigate whether someone would be interested. I have an example of something that did very, very well. A library having, one of those huge book sales, they had a box of brochures put out by the National Park Service on each individual park. They ran from the early 1900s through the 70s, those brochures, and there were, I think, over 100 of them, sold very well, hundreds of dollars. Look for stuff like that. Look for historical paper about very popular subjects. And here's another thing about paper, is that people very specifically look for certain subjects. Prints of Pan Am airplanes. I had a calendar that each individual picture was a plane. It didn't have anything on the back. It didn't have the calendar on the back. So they look like mini posters. Those did very well. And I did break them up. So always break things up if you can, because especially collectors, they might have 3 or 4, but they're missing one, and they don't want to buy another set of 4. They want the one they're missing. So breaking things up works out well. And if they want multiples, then a lot of times they'll make offers and you can give them a better deal on the multiple. People also look for like particular car models, real photographs of families with their family car way back in the 50s, 40s, 30s, 20s, do very, very well. And postcards. Postcards, that's huge. I can't even tell you how huge it is. There are the different eras, the linen ones, the RPPC, the real photo postcard. Those are probably the most sought after. Some of them are by certain photographers that are very collectible. People like it because it's actually a person and it's just a snapshot of time, and it's a one of a kind. I think the two highest sellers I had, there was one of some bartenders behind one of those old wooden tall bars, wiping glasses in San Jose, California, that got into a big bidding war, and that did well. I'm trying to remember, a couple hundred, maybe even a little higher than that. That was a while ago, but it was a really good one. There was another one of like a flooded creek. And you wonder, do people buy them because they live near that creek, or because it's the town and they want to document things, or someone from that area that moved away? You just never know why people collect things, and they have lots of different reasons. I guess I should say never pass up a real photo postcard. Always grab them. You don't know who's looking for it. When I was talking about splitting things up, there are lots of things to split up. If you see magazines, sometimes people are looking for the articles in the magazines and you can just list the magazine, but also take a look at the advertisements in there. People will frame them, they'll put them on their wall. I had one set of encyclopedia that I found, in the set itself was water damaged, so they were basically giving it away. But inside there were artist rendered prints colored in. It was kind of a mid-century modern, and like one book would be about flowers and the next one was about trees. Let's talk about advertising and promotional items. Now those are the things in junk drawers which are absolute gold mines. And I know you've probably heard junk drawers do well, but the things in junk drawers do better. It's better to sell the individual items than sell that junk drawer for $100. Whereas, there are 20 things in there worth $10 to $20 each if you take the time to take the pictures and do the individual listing. The things you'll find are pens, plastic key fobs. You'll also find the old metal watch fobs, like little figurines, little stickers do well, decals that people used to put on their windshields, bookmarks, coins, tokens, all those things. They all have collectors. And I would recommend grabbing that box or taking the time to look at sold prices and decide if it's something you want to list. Why does this stuff sell? For instance, talking about the airlines like Pan Am and TWA and Eastern, those airlines that don't exist anymore, that is why people are collecting them, because it's aviation history, and the longer time goes on, the less is going to be available. They grab them now if they can find them. A lot of these things you'll find in that box where it's $3 for everything in the box. How can you not make money, right? Another category is original works of art. Now, I'm not talking about looking for hidden Picassos. I'm talking about anything signed by an artist or with a maker mark, because that makes it more searchable on eBay or whichever platform you're on. Sometimes people are just looking for signed landscape and that will come up, or they have an individual artist that they are always looking to collect. I'm not only talking about paintings, although those do very well. I'm also talking about prints, those numbered prints. Those are good to pick up. Also, anything that has a manufacturer's mark. Jewelry is very good for that. Figurines, like if they still have that little foil sticker on them. With glassware, you'll see artists will etch their name onto it. Even the stamped ones. Basically, some type of an artisan or at least a well-known manufacturer. Those are always worth picking up. Here is where it really gets interesting. Hobby collectors. And they are very serious about what they collect. One of the more serious categories that we specialized in was militaria. There are veterans that are collecting items from their own regiment, their own past. There are people who are collecting certain battles. There are people who are collecting certain, like Civil War or World War I. Some of those are history buffs, and some of them have a personal tie to what they're collecting. These items carry emotional weight, and for that reason, they are valuable. And we've had some times in the past where we have reconnected people, families with things that we found. So it can be very rewarding. The next one that I've talked about a few times already is transportation. We did a lot of airline memorabilia, but there's also trains and subway transit tokens, bus line things, schedules. Anything you see, it's worth checking out. Western Americana. This is something that flies under the radar, but it is always collectible, so always pick it up if you see it. I picked up this huge collection of postcards from the 1950s from this dude ranch. They also had a lot of real rodeo pictures from the 50s from local rodeos. That sold forever and did very well. Another area that is surprising that it does so well is desk accessories. People like to collect the old pens, the fountain pens. You can even sell the pieces, or you can sell a pen that looks bad because people want it for parts. Also mechanical pencils. Paperweights are huge. Inkwells and inkwell bottles and pencil leads. Staplers. I just sold a stapler like 6 months ago that was for an airline manufacturer. Just grab it if you see it, and it'll probably be cheap. Here's what I want you to take away from this. We definitely have expertise that we take for granted and don't realize that we know things that a lot of the younger set out there don't know. We can spot something that we think might be coming back into fashion, or we recognize the history. It's about training your eye to see value where other people just see clutter. And sometimes they might even laugh at what you pick up, but that's okay, right? You'll laugh on the way to the bank. The key is curiosity. You might be holding someone else's holy grail and you haven't got a clue, but take it home. If you found this helpful, do me a favor, subscribe. My name is Jennifer, and this channel is Her Empowered Retirement. I put out videos every week helping women like us find streams of income and looking at retirement, maybe with a new lens of, I like to think, excitement. I'd love to hear from you and what you're finding out there and what's working or what questions you have. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful week. Stay positive, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.